Coming up, what is Wenzani? CEO Jenny Fielding tells us all about Lonely Planet's new travel recommendation app, plus a lot of announcements from the web. Sound tracking goes Android, Twitter gets new again, Spotify gets radio. Plus, we'll review simple present and social media ornaments from your tree, courtesy of Etsy, of course. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Social Hour is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is The Social Hour with Sarah Lane and Amber MacArthur. Episode 38, recorded Monday, December 12th, 2011. This episode of The Social Hour is brought to you by Ford, featuring available voice-activated Sync. Sync gives you versatile access to music, podcasts, and more from just about any device. Check it out in the new 2012 Ford Focus and at Ford.com/technology. And by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to Netflix.com/TWiT. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Social Hour. This time, I am in Barcelona, Spain. And I am Sarah Lane, by the way.
And I'm Amber MacArthur, and I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And it's nice not being the one who's traveling, Sarah. So, although I am jealous that you're in Spain, it sounds like you're having a wonderful time.
Yeah, I am. So I was in Paris for Le Web last week. Leo and I and Eileen and Lisa and it was just the four of us represented the TWiT crew. We had a little booth set up in one of the they call them Les Docks at the Le Web venue. It's sort of these big, almost like airplane hangar type rooms where people are speaking and startups are showing off their new products, and we had a nice TWiT booth set up where we were bringing people in to talk to them, and it was really successful. It was a great show, had a lot of fun, but MG and I decided, well, since we're going to be all the way there already and it's kind of a work trip, let's take a train down to Barcelona and have a little, tack on a little bit of vacation afterwards. So that's why I am calling in from Barcelona, where it's almost dinner time. It's 8:11 p.m. here, and anybody who's been to Barcelona knows that would be, technically you could get dinner, but it would be kind of like the lame time to get dinner because you're supposed to go out.
So it's good that we're doing this show.
Earliest. Yeah, exactly. So
Perfect.
Glad to be here. Didn't want to miss it.
And we have a really good guest that we should probably kick off the show with. We have Jenny Fielding from WinZanny. And Jenny, I sort of met her through someone I met a couple weeks ago who works at the BBC and was talking a little bit about WinZanny, the new app that they've just created. I think they're based in San Francisco, the company who's working on it. And Jenny agreed to come on the show, and there's lots of great social elements to it. So Jenny, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
So, Jenny, I have the timing of this, you being on the show, is incredibly good because I had not heard of Wenzani before. I now know that in Zulu it means, what are you doing? But I didn't realize that before I downloaded the app, which was easy to download. I downloaded in the iTunes store. And it's an app that helps people when they're traveling get recommendations on where to go, be able to ask questions in their social network, being able to get recommendations if I wanted to know of a specific place to eat or to go or to hang out, a specific place. And it's really great. So how did this come about?
Well, we came up with this idea, Wenzani, being about anyone looking for trustworthy, high-quality suggestions on how to spend their free time, because we felt like there was this kind of gap in the market. There were a lot of people doing the social side of things, and then you have kind of all the traditional publishers and listing on the other side, and that people hadn't really combined it. And so we were looking to combine expert content with location-based recommendations from trusted contexts, as well as people in your social graph, and put it all into one. So that's where the idea came up. came from. And the concept is really about not just for travelers, but making every traveler feel like a local. So it's about local content wherever you are.
And one thing that I like about it, I've been playing around with it this morning, is the integration with Lonely Planet. So there's content already populated in there. It's not just about user recommendations. Can you talk a little bit about those partnerships with those publications?
Yeah, so this actually started within the Lonely Planet, and the idea was, how do we make this content more social, more dynamic? And we spun it out because we didn't just want to use Lonely Planet content. We wanted to work with the best publishers out there for a particular situation. So sometimes that would be Lonely Planet, but sometimes that would be, say, a local publisher like SF Gate. So what we decided to do was make deals with all the publishers. And so right now we have Frommer's, Lonely Planet, Time Out. We're going to have DK, which is Eyewitness Guides, and a whole host of others in the pipeline. Traditionally, competitors actually in this space, all coming together and saying, we have a better chance of reaching our audience and of monetizing within the app if we kind of come together, as opposed to if we all just kind of go out there with our own, our own content. So that was the idea, kind of an aggregation play, a flipboard for travel and local content.
Do you think that the Lonely Planet brand is what sets you apart from someone who says, well, Sarah and Amber have talked about Trippy on the show before, or there are services like GoGoBot is another example where they are services that can certainly be used as apps where people can get recommendations, give recommendations on travel places. Is the Lonely Planet brand kind of take it to a different level when you think about at least competitors in the social travel app space?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that you hit it right on the nail. It's not just Lonely Planet, but it is the brands. The ones that you've mentioned are all great companies, and they've really done some really interesting things around social, all kind of being sparked by the original guys out there, the Goalas and the Foursquares, and I think they've really narrowed it into travel and really gone after that in a dynamic way. But they don't have the expert content, and we feel that people want both. They want to be able to compare Lonely Planet, what Lonely Planet and Frommer say, with what people in their social graphs say. So it's really the pairing of the two.
And I would think also with Lonely Planet on board, as well as the other publications, I know something we had talked about before is that it allows this app to truly encompass a global perspective. And that's something that you don't see a lot with some of these other recommendations apps out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we launched last week and we launched globally. So I get, emails from people saying, oh my gosh, I'm in Kenya and there's information here. And it's like, wow, that's amazing. So yes, we decided we were going to go out globally. And then to expand on that, we will be doing deals with local publishers so that you really have a robust experience when you're in a place like Barcelona. So it won't just be the traditional travel guides. Like if you're in Barcelona right now, you should see Frommer's Lonely Planet content, but we want to do deals with local people that can tell you, kind of the local events that are going on in Barcelona as well. So we're going to kind of knock those off city by city.
Yeah, because I went ahead and loaded up a question. I once we get done with the show here, it'll be just about time for dinner. So I figure it's Monday night, why not have a little kava? And so I had asked a question here on Wenzani, recommendations for a great place to get some kava. There is actually a great place right down the street from me. It happens to be closed on Monday night, so it's a legitimate question. And I decided to blast it to Twitter, which is something that you can do from within the app. Right. And I actually got a lot of responses on Twitter because I have a lot of people on Twitter that I'm connected with who want to give me good recommendations. But I'm not connected to a lot of people on Wenzani right now. In fact, Jenny, you're the only non-brand that I found in a quick search. Right. How do we get all the individual friends to use the service?
I mean, as more people use it, when you enter the app, it'll automatically pull those people in. But it is, it's a good point, and it's something that we're working on. This has been, this is a beta that we've put out there, and we really want to get feedback on how to make it better. but it is a great point. And how do you get more people in your social graph using the app? We have also a web plugin, essentially, that you're able to use. It's a web app for Facebook, and so it's a great way to get people in your social graph kind of using it as well.
And I just wanted to talk just for a minute about your role, because I know you work with the BBC, and then you're involved in this project. And I might have confused people off the top of the show when I mentioned the BBC. You do seem to have one of the coolest jobs ever. So can you describe a little bit what you do with Wenzani and maybe future projects and kind of your role within the BBC?
Yeah, so the BBC, for a lot of people that don't know, actually owns the guidebook The Lonely Planet. So they are essentially, for these purposes, one and the same. I've been working within the digital arena of BBC, and we're looking at various new digital opportunities and ventures to get involved with. Sometimes those are external companies that we do partnerships with. And sometimes those are our internal projects. So this was something that was internally generated within the company, and so I'm now leading this project as the CEO. So.
Very cool. Now, the app is available at this time as an iOS download only, I believe. Are there any plans for other platforms?
Yeah, I mean, we're not kidding ourselves. We don't live in just an iOS world anymore. But again, we decided to launch this as a beta because we want to spend the next month getting on what we're. And as such, we want to nail the feature set before we go cross-platform. So, in the next, when we have our V2, we hope to, roll that out into other platforms. But again, it's just about kind of nailing the features that work, how to improve it, how to make it a better user experience.
Well, I think it's absolutely a great app. Just within a few minutes, I think it's intuitive. You know how to ask a question or answer a question that somebody else has. There's some places that I can recommend. I was just having a red wine at lunch, which is very, very nice. I love Spain for that. Just down the street, and I loaded up. Oh, I like this place, so I recommended it very easily, so anybody could see that if they were following me on Wenzani. It seems like travel apps are very hot right now, and I don't really know why, because it's not as if people just started traveling, and it's not as if apps are brand new. I mean, there seems to be a space that all of a sudden is getting really populated really quickly. Jenny, do you have any insight on why that is? Is it just because our connections are getting faster? Our phones have better cameras? Combination of the two?
Yeah, I think it's that plus location-based service. I think once every phone had GPS and the ability to connect via location, it just really opened things up. It made everything about kind of relevance and real time. And so I think you saw a flood of people that had been kind of, thinking, travelers, oh, it'd be so great to be able to, connect to other people here or have real time information and have that information be dynamic. So I would imagine that the location functionality, the phones are finally catching up to what we all, have wanted for a long time. So I think that's a big part of it.
So if people want to sign up, it's as simple as downloading the app, and it's free right now. That may not always be the case. So maybe people should get it while it's hot and doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, so it's a free to download app, and we will be in our version 2 adding in other publishers, so that hopefully there'll be other names of people that resonate with you in there, and we'll be adding more, different partners. So you'll be able to, book tables and flights and, all of that stuff within the app as well. So that's what you should look for in the V2. Much more functionality and many more partners.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jenny, and good luck with everything. And maybe you'll come back on the show in the new year. I'm sure there'll be other projects that you have on the go.
Great. Thank you both. Enjoy Barcelona.
Thanks, Jenny, and thanks for being on the show.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.
Take care. Amber, it's so funny. Okay, so anyone who was watching the show last week knows that I was going to be on vacation, and you said, well, I'll go ahead and do the bulk of the show, Sarah. Don't worry, so that you don't have to be doing too much work from abroad. And I said, great, thank you very much. And Jenny and Wenzani was something that you came up with, which is the timing could not be better. When I finally had a moment after the web to sort of sit down and say, okay, what has Amber got here? I've got to check out this app. I'm not familiar with it yet. I couldn't believe how perfect it was for my very trip. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said to Jenny, I mean, I think one of the things that's great is those expert reviews. So, we're so used to just the general population kind of going in and leaving their comments about a certain location. It's nice to see those full featured kind of reviews from Lonely Planet, and that's stuff that we can look at in contrast to just a user recommendation. So I think that will be really useful to a lot of people.
Absolutely. And let's say, I guess it's pronounced Fromers. I've always said Fromers, but there are certain travel brands that people like. So what if you said, well, Wenzani sounds okay, but I have never really thought much about Lonely Planet. The nice thing about this app is that as more brands sign on, but they've got certain big brands right now, you could go ahead and just turn off all the Lonely Planet recommendations and just read the Fromers ones. For example, that's one of the partners that they have now in Barcelona, and so I loaded it up on my map. It's kind of hard to see, but I've got all these recommendations now from both of them, and I could toggle between the two, which is different than a random person giving me a recommendation for a kava place. Might be the best place ever, might not, because, again, it's a little bit of a crapshoot when you don't know the person well enough or they don't have a respected position in the travel space. I love this. I think this is great.
Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, I already was just in my own neighborhood in Toronto. I was kind of diving in and I was reviewing some places and some different spots. And I feel like, it's got that addictive quality where you want to keep reviewing stuff. So that's always a good sign. So good luck to them. I mean, great time to launch something like this. And we'll keep an eye on that one, Sarah. We'll keep an eye on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wenzani. So thanks again to Jenny Fielding for joining us. Quick reminder, if you're watching us live, you know that we record live on Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. It is 11 a.m. Pacific right now, although I'm just not there. It's very strange. It's very strange to be shooting the social hour on Monday night, my time, just after 8 p.m. Barcelona time. But yeah, we wanted to do it at the same time, same place for everybody who wanted to watch live. And of course, if you don't watch live, you don't have to miss the show. You can just subscribe to the show and watch at your leisure, or just go to our website at twit.tv/TSH. That's where all of our show archives live. We are on episode 38, I believe. So yeah. I mean, any other? It's funny in our rundown. I say social hour 12. Like, yeah, Sarah, you must be somewhat a little bit jet lagged because it's clearly not social hour 12. It is episode 38. Oh, it's December 12th. That's why.
It's okay, Sarah. You're on vacation. It's all good. So
Exactly.
You're in Spain.
What episode is this? Because it says episode 12, but I know that's not right.
Different time zone and all that. We forgive you.
Right, exactly. So yes, you can please watch our show archives. We have had a lot of guests in the past, great guests, and it's worth going back and seeing who you missed. Watch another show, and of course subscribe. If you don't even want to think about it, you just get all those episodes delivered to you. And you can email us at thesocialhour@twit.tv.
All right.
All right. So, Amber, before we get into some of the kind of great news that's, I think this is going to be a hybrid holiday show and a little bit of a low web wrap-up, which is kind of like a holiday show because it is December after all.
Okay, before we get into some of this week's Social Hour news, let's thank Ford for sponsoring this episode of the Social Hour. You've heard us talk about Ford in the past on many Twitch shows, and that's because we love them so much because their cars are awesome. I want to talk to you a little bit about Sync. All right, so Sync's entertainment features are amazing. Here's what you can do. You can access music and podcasts from most devices, iPods, mobile phones, tablets, even flash drives. And with Sync with My Ford Touch, you can play videos, display photos from your digital cameras, or your portable game device. Of course, your vehicle should be in park at that time because Amber and I are always telling you, do not drive and watch video. Under no circumstances should you do
Never do that.
But there are many circumstances where you may be in park for a while. You've got some time to kill, and you might want to watch a podcast such as this. Wired connections from just about any device, USB ports, SD slots even, RCA jacks. I mean, Ford has you covered. Wireless access via Bluetooth, of course. Pretty much just connect a variety of devices. You can go ahead and play. Once your device is connected, you can use voice activation. That is where it gets cool, especially when you're driving and you do not have time to look down at your passenger seat or get anything out of your purse or your man bag or whatever you might have. You play what you want via your voice. Some simple voice commands, for example, play genre rock from your Pandora station, or play my Lady Gaga station. That's the sort of thing that you can do just from your voice. You can change the radio station, that sort of thing. It's really, really, really versatile and robust. The whole idea is that a sync lets you pretty much switch between all the devices. You can just load up before you even get on the road. And once they're all connected, you can switch between all of them because, let's face it, we all have a lot of devices. And wouldn't it be nice if they were all pretty much going through that single console in your Ford car? Well, that's actually exactly what they do. All these features that we talked about are available in the 2012 Ford Focus. And you can find out a lot more about what Ford is doing at ford.com/technology. They've got an API. They're working with developers right now to just sort of keep adding options to these cars. So if you get a 2012 Ford Focus, it's already really cool, and it's going to be even cooler later on, as well as other models from Ford. Again, that's ford.com/technology. Really worth looking at this website and getting a sense of all the cool stuff that Ford is doing. They're really at the forefront of technology. And we thank them so much for sponsoring this episode of the Social Hour. All right, Amber, shall we get into some of the news from the last week?
Yeah, let's do it. Obviously, one of the biggest headlines over the past few days is the new Twitter, the new design of Twitter, which at first I thought, you know what, I didn't really like it, but it didn't take me long to get used to it. Much more like a social network, more like an experience that you may find on something like Facebook, I think, than the previous version of the design. There's still a few little things, Sarah. I don't know if there's things that bother you, but there's a couple little things that I think that they could work on improving.
Yeah, so we're talking about it's new Twitter was sort of the jokey name that it was given online by a lot of people, but this is both a new web interface at twitter.com and a new iPhone interface. Not an iPad interface. They haven't gotten that far yet, but both the iPhone app and the web interface have changed. Now, I'm actually logging right into my web app as we podcast because about an hour ago, I still didn't have the new web interface. And now I still don't. I'm back in again. Amber, have you switched over yet?
Yeah, I did switch over a few days ago, and like I said, there's just generally speaking, it's not really that dramatic as far as the differences. It's just that things are in different places. For example, when you're in the web interface and you have to compose a new tweet, instead of having a big, nice, broad space to the top of your screen, it's kind of down the left-hand column where you compose a new tweet. It's kind of sort of a smaller area. The only other thing that kind of bothers me is how you have to go into, I guess it's like your profile pull down at the top right to see your direct messages and lists and other things like that. So it's just not, it's almost like they've hidden that, which I think is a bit of a disservice in terms of people who use Twitter like I do, where I do a lot of direct messaging to other people. So it's that extra click to get into that space. So the layout is definitely takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's not, after a few days, I'm fairly comfortable with it. It's not totally unattractive.
Yeah, I actually think that the new layout at first glance looks better. I like having the left-hand rail for my navigation. It's not, I don't like it more than the right-hand rail, but I think that it sticks out more, and I know that that's important to Twitter. And it's certainly going to be when they start featuring sponsored brands in that area, but I think it looks nice. Mm. What I'm not so sold on is burying things like DMs. This actually bothered me when new Twitter, the last iteration of Twitter, rolled out, and I had to, because I favored a lot of things, I now have to go to my profile to find my favorites, and it's easy enough to do, but the favorites used to be just right on my main page when I was looking at my news feed. I'm not really hanging out on my own profile that often. So that kind of bothered me a little bit when I thought, okay, well, they're still there. Oh, I am very pixelated, aren't I? But I can see myself. It's like I have a pixel filter on myself. Very good looking stuff. Sorry, guys. But and for audio listeners, you just don't even worry about it. You don't know what you're missing. But the same thing with the DMs is, why do they want to bury DMs? I think that anytime Twitter takes something off of your main newsfeed, you know, your kind of your homepage of Twitter, once you're logged in, and buries it a step, it means that they're internally de-emphasizing it a little bit. And DMs are such a big part of how I communicate with people online. I mean, I have folks that I could email, I could SMS, I could talk to them on Facebook Messenger, and the list goes on. But we DM regularly because it's easy, and we're friends on Twitter. And I don't know where Twitter's going with that.
Yeah, you know, I think also one of the things I noticed is that as far as where your attention is drawn, as far as where the eye is drawn, one thing that I keep finding is I'm totally drawn to on the left-hand column and in the middle section just below your profile, they have who to follow. And I find it so distracting because it you know, it's permanently there. And I keep like looking, oh, who should I follow? Who should I follow? But I feel like for Twitter, you know, the experience should be in my stream. It should be in who's adding me, who's connecting with me. But instead, like my eye is just veering over to the left-hand side of the page. So, you know, again, I think the changes aren't that massive that like it's not too difficult to get used to it. But there are some weird things that they've done. Like even in the top navigation bar, it feels like, you know, at your replies, at connect, and all of that stuff in the top nav bar, it feels like it's disconnected from the overall experience on the page. And I think that is a little bit odd how they've done that. But you know what? Let's face it, Sarah, they're going to be getting a lot of feedback, and I wouldn't be surprised if they start tweaking things, you know, as more people complain and relay to Twitter how they're actually feeling about the new design. But I guess I'm getting used to it. But
it seems like the most of the hatred and vitriol is pointed towards Twitter's new iPhone app. Now, I've been trying to figure out why it's so awful. And I just don't think it is. I mean, now I know some of you might be like, "Why is it awful?" I agree with you. I don't hate it. I think it looks slightly different. Just the general UI, the general design, it looks different at the onset. But then what you have on the lower nav, and that's what has people up in arms. Some people, anyway. You've got your home, your news feed. You've got your connect, which is a lot like activity. In the web version, where you have something called interactions, which is like who followed you and which of your friends followed other people type of a thing, or you can just go straight to mentions, which is at replies basically. Then you have a little discover area, which it's almost like Twitter playing Flipboard a little bit, where depending on who I follow and what their interests are and what people have been talking about. So again, this is tailored. My discover area would be tailored to my account. Amber's discover area would be different because she follows not exactly the same number and type of people that I follow. So these are stories that Twitter recommends to me. But the stories that Twitter recommends to me I'm not interested in. Yeah, I don't really feel like I follow a lot of people on Twitter that are talking about sports all the time. But my top discover topic is something about a guy signing to the Timberwolves. I don't even like basketball. And then there's something about the LA Clippers signing some other guy. And these are articles from SB Nation and ESPN, respectively. Then we go into a story about Men in Black 3. And it's I guess it's kind of interesting to see an aggregate of what people I follow and I'm connected to or interested in. But none of those stories I'm going to click on. So I think Discover is a little bit of a swing and miss right now. For anybody who's got the iPhone app, you probably have a feeling one way or another. So if you do, or if you feel like I'm missing the point somehow, please let us know. I don't know, Amber. I don't hate it. I think it's just Twitter's obviously going in a different direction. and they're trying to figure out what works. And I don't see anything here that's so bad that I would recommend that they roll back, which they have done in the past with certain features. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. I just feel like it's not that dramatic, right? Although, Sarah, I have to laugh for someone who says they're not really that into sports. You saying that it's sort of like a swing and miss is there's a little bit of irony there. I couldn't let you get away with that one. But again, it's just they're just like minor tweaks, right? And I think that people will become more comfortable with them. I mean, there's also some talk. I've read some articles about how maybe this new Twitter interface is actually catering more towards businesses because there's so much pressure on Twitter to be able to monetize the service and deal with advertisers, and they're doing okay in that respect right now. So they clearly have different goals in mind and trying to please a whole lot of people, which is never easy. But we'll keep an eye on it and kind of watch what happens. But there's a couple things I'd like to see them change. Direct messages, definitely one of them, as far as hiding that and other information. But we'll see what happens, Sarah. We'll see.
Absolutely. There were a few really cool. The web was really cool this year, and not certainly in part because there were a lot of announcements and a few really quickly just that work for our show. Soundtracking. We had interviewed co-founder Steve Jang on one of our very first social hours, actually, way back in, I think it was March. Soundtracking has launched an Android app that'll make a lot of people happy. Not only because now they're on both iOS and Android, but their Android app, in a way, is kind of cooler because Android allows soundtracking through the Android interface to connect to service like Spotify, for example. So if I were to load up, Amber, if you and I are connected on soundtracking and I were to load up a song that I'm listening to, if we were both soundtracking, if we were both on soundtracking, you'd be able to stream the song directly through the soundtracking service. And if you were following a bunch of people, and let's say you loaded up your soundtracking news feed, you could almost use it as a radio station where you could just play songs one after another. In the iOS version of soundtracking, it hooks up with iTunes, and iTunes does not allow people to stream music, obviously. I mean, you've got a 90-second clip. So I've always thought, wow, soundtracking would be so great if you could actually listen to the whole song, because people are sharing songs with me through my community on soundtracking all the time, but you can't hear the whole song, and so I don't really click on those links half of the time because I know it's just going to be a snippet. So Android app for soundtracking, really awesome, works differently. So if you're an Android user and you haven't heard of it before, I definitely recommend you take a look. Google also launched Currents. People call it the Flipboard competitor. I guess that's what you have to call it since Google originally wanted to buy Flipboard back in the day. And since they didn't, it was only a matter of time before they launched something that was Flipboard-like. I haven't actually had a chance to play around with Currents at all, Amber. How about you?
No, I've just been reading a little bit about it, and I'm in the iTunes store right now, kind of reading the description and looking at some of the screenshots. It does look a little bit like a Flipboard, I think. Interesting to see all the publishers who are on board, like TechCrunch, Popular Science, Fast Company, and like they say, great for offline reading. So I think, again, seems like a cool offering from Google. They just, keep rolling out good stuff, and I'm sure there'll be integration with Google Plus soon enough. If there isn't already, there might be already, actually.
Yeah, it's always fun when people talk about the next Flipboard killer, because there really hasn't ever been one. There are a lot of great services, but nothing really works the way that Flipboard does. But and by the way, Flipboard got an iPhone app as well, which has been met with really good reviews thus far. But yeah, it's Google, right? So it's a big company trying to do something that Google. It remains to be seen how Currents is going to play out, because Google does launch a lot of services. They're known for that. Sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't, and people love to make fun of Google when they try to, I guess, replicate something that the smaller guys are doing with limited success. But again, that's Google Currents. It's live now. And if you think that they're a Flipboard competitor, let us know. Right now, I'm going to say Flipboard doesn't really have anything to worry about. They have so much momentum right now on their own. But it's always good. It's always good to have options. And again, if you're a Google enthusiast, aficionado, it's definitely something that you'll want to check out. And again, let us know what you think. As it compares to Flipboard and NewsMe and Trove and all of those services, we're really starting to talk about a saturated market.
Well, I think that's, one of the advantages that Google will always have with services like that is that even if some of the stuff doesn't stick, the more offerings they have to, as far as services that are similar to other competitors out there, I, for one, use a lot of Google services, and sometimes it just becomes easy to say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to use that competitor anymore. Maybe it's easier, but the reality is I love the fact that I can kind of centralize all of my services within one place. So I think they definitely have that, as far as an advantage over some of these other offerings. It's just that if you're used to using Google services, the integration is always so slick and so easy. If you're on the Android platform, even better, right? So we'll see, eventually what happens with Currents. Although I have to laugh, when I first heard the name, I was thinking of Google Wave, and I just can't get that out of my mind.
Well, it sounds like that, right? It's like the ocean theme. They can't get rid of it. Okay, Google Wave didn't work. How about Google Currents? It's like a little bit more mellow. You into it? So, okay, Google Currents. It's fine. It's funny. I used to work at Currents, and there used to be a show called Google Currents, which is not anything to say. It's. I think even Google is running out of names to think about. We mentioned Spotify a second ago when we were talking about Soundtracking's new app. Spotify itself launched something called Spotify Radio, something that they announced at the web. And it's great because there's a lot of talk of, should Pandora be worried about Spotify Radio because now you can play an artist station through Spotify, and Pandora is not available worldwide, and Spotify is obviously available in a lot of places, has such a big following in Europe where Pandora has none. So, is it the end for Pandora? But the two services really are apples and oranges, in the way that Spotify would love for you to think, it's just like Pandora, except that we allow you to, play, skip more than 8 times as far as skipping through an artist radio station type of a thing, and have more than 100 radio stations, which I think is Pandora's limit. But if you think about it, both of those things are a little bit silly because who needs more than 100 radio stations? Okay, somebody out there is going to say me. But I think the majority of people will agree 100 radio stations is quite a bit. And also, the idea of skipping is the great thing about Pandora for me is that, and again, I know that a lot of people outside the U.S. don't have Pandora, but one of the nice things is it allows you to curate your station after you create it. So let's say I create a Bruce Springsteen station because I like Bruce Springsteen. Well, the beauty of Pandora is it says, okay, well, through our algorithm and all of the data that we've collected from artists that are similar to each other, we're going to give you a station of similar artists. Well, okay, so let's say that the next song is by Billy Ocean. And I go, no, that's not really what I want in my Bruce Springsteen station. I can thumbs down it. That song will never show up again. And then Pandora knows enough to know, well, I might not really be all that crazy about Billy Ocean. And so that's just sort of the beginning of how you make a really smart radio station. Well, Spotify doesn't have that. So if you have a smart radio station on Pandora and you're skipping a song that you might not want to hear, like, I'm not really in the mood, being able to skip 8 times in one session is possibly all you need. On Spotify, they're not making smart radio stations, so you might want to skip a lot more. So it's like Spotify saying, well, we allow you to skip forever, is you might need to skip forever because you might be getting a lot of stuff that you didn't really want in the beginning. So I don't know that this is anything that Pandora needs to be worried about. I'm sure that they're interested. If Spotify Radio hits in certain places that Pandora doesn't, obviously they can do something about it. But I think really where Spotify shines is that it's available so many places that Pandora isn't now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny if you think of the last couple of stories that we've done, how they really are replicating services that are out there. I'm excited when we see that, hopefully it happens in 2012, that brand new service that is something different, right? Something we've never seen or heard of before, because there is so much happening right now as far as kind of copycat services, which I totally understand. And, clearly there's an audience for it, but I'd like to see a little bit more innovation. I do have a social tip for people that is somewhat innovative, also very handy during the holidays. It's called Simple Present. And I wish I found this a few weeks ago. As my family, we were trying to organize, who's buying presents for whom. And usually what we do is we'll go in on a present for my parents. And I think it's kind of similar to how a lot of families work. Also groups of friends who want to get a present. The idea behind Simple Present is it allows you to organize gifts with a group of people. So I went in. It was really simple because you didn't have to even sign up, which I love services like this. And I just added that let's say we all want to buy a gift for Sarah, because who wouldn't? And we want to buy her a holiday striped sweater dress. We know she likes stripes. Then I simply add a link in here, a link to the website, a price that it might be, send the link out to all of my friends, and then they can click on the link and go in and say how much money they want to contribute to that particular gift. Or if they have notes, maybe they don't like that gift, but it's just really super simple. If you are faced with buying gifts for people in the office and there's a bunch of you contributing.
That's awesome. I love this idea, especially, gosh, the office part of it is the best, because I know at TWiT all the time, we even have a small group, but it's like, it's somebody's birthday every week, it seems like. And it's the sort of thing where if we all contribute a little bit, we can actually get something that's nice and that's meaningful, that'll make somebody feel really good. That's not just, like a crappy, $1 gift type of a thing. And this is such a nice way for people to get together and make it happen. Or a birthday or a baby shower, or, the list goes on. This is great.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun because it gets rid of that problem where you probably had when you're organizing gifts for a certain person, is that there's this long email string and people going back and forth, and it just seems like it's never going to end. Like I said, because you don't even need to sign up for this service. You just go in right away. It takes a few seconds, and then it's an easy, simple way to keep track of how much each person is going to contribute. And as the organizer, you can also get notifications as far as new ideas suggested, new cash contributions, and new messages. So, Sarah, I can't guarantee we're going to get you that dress, but we know you like stripes. So we'll see.
This is great. It's very much like organizing an event. Simple Present looks to me like a nice, clean event service, except that the event is a gift for somebody. And obviously, as we go into the holidays, those are the kind of gifts that a lot of people are buying, but this could be relevant any time of the year.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. So that's a fun one. Another fun one for our spotlight is the Facebook Status Theater. Now, I had to reread this article a few times to totally understand it. I stumbled across it on CNN. It's really weird. And basically the idea is you can have your Facebook posts acted out live online, which is disturbing, I think. So this is called Stuff Theater, and it's a theater group that is taking requests based on your status updates that you share with them. They're a group in Chicago, and they're streaming their productions live on Norton's Facebook page. So this is Norton Antivirus. Many people are familiar with that. And the concept being that they will do a bunch of, spontaneous skits on the fly based on whatever status updates you have coming in. It's very strange.
Is it almost like what the heck was that campaign? See, how effective was it? Now I can't even think of it. The guy who, what was the campaign where he would make videos and you would send in updates on Twitter, and then he would make a video?
The Old Spice guy?
Old Spice guy, yeah. That's just it's almost a little bit of that kind of a feeling where they'll create videos based on what people are updating their statuses on.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I guess you can try to almost, throw them off a little bit, because you can, update things and make it very bizarre and kind of random and see how they react. So I have to credit Norton for coming up with a creative idea like this. It's sort of unique. I have never seen anything exactly like this before. And I'm sure for the theater group, it's a ton of fun and a great way for them to get exposure as well.
I love this. This is great. I mean, this is like a theater group's dream, isn't it?
Sure.
Where it's like, definitely. What do you want us to do? Yeah, it's give us a little direction. We'll do anything. It's great.
I know. And people can watch the videos that they've archived online, and there's some funny updates that individuals are sharing, or status updates.
I love it. That's great. So Foursquare Theater. Foursquare status theater, or Facebook.
Or Facebook status,
not
yeah.
Foursquare. I've got Foursquare.
That would be
on the
interesting,
brain.
though. I've just checked into. That might not be as fun.
Act out my dinner, and I'll tell you if you're right or not. Now, I've got Foursquare on the brain, of course, because I'm checking into all these places where I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll get the mayorship. No one I know is going to be here anytime soon. Facebook status theater, hey, anything to get people involved with Facebook, I guess, is a win. It's certainly a win for Facebook and definitely a win for some of these brands. So kudos to them for having a little bit of creativity.
Yes, I agree. All right, so
All right, well,
go ahead. We have a voicemail, right? Or email?
Yeah, we have an email, actually. We just one email this week because we have all this other great stuff. But Johnny emailed us and said, I love the show. I was wondering if you guys knew of an iPhone app that would read my tweets. I drive a truck, and I can't read my feed as often as I would like to, but I'd love to be able to listen to it. Thanks for your hard work. Thank you, Johnny, for saying that we work hard. I do not have an answer, and Amber, I hope that you do, because this would be a dream for me as well, because I also spend a lot of time in my car, probably not as much as Johnny spends in his truck, but certainly enough time so that I feel like an hour in the car can make me very behind on something like Twitter. Do you know of anything like this?
Yeah, you know what? I just reviewed a couple of these apps recently. I reviewed one for Android, and it was called, I think, Twitter Reader or something like that. For the iPhone, I also reviewed one called Tweets Aloud that he may want to check out. It's $2.99 for sort of the Pro version, and I would recommend getting that because the Lite version, which I believe is free, doesn't have all the features and functionality. I mean, it's a really simple idea, really awesome if you are really tapped into your stream and you want to get all of those updates read to you, and a simple user interface, nothing too complex about it, and I think he would probably really like this, and it would be great for his trips in his truck. So only $2.99. It's called Tweets Aloud. Cool,
and that's Tweets ALOUD, not allowed as in you are allowed to download this app. And then the Android version was, what was it called?
It's a different service. It was called Twitter Reader, I think is the name of it. I can't remember the exact name, but you'll be able to find it in the marketplace, and that one also works pretty well. But Tweets Aloud for the iPhone is one of the best that I've ever found.
Excellent. Johnny, I hope we answered your question. Hopefully you either have an Android or an iPhone, but those are two great options that hopefully will help some other people out there. I'll definitely be downloading Tweets Aloud, so thank you, Amber. We wanted to remind you, all of you out there, that there are a lot of ways that you can get in touch with us, whether you have a question, whether you have a comment, something that we talk about on the show. If you say, hey, that wasn't right, or, oh, I've got an even better idea, or that reminds me, any of that stuff, you can always email us. The social hour at twit.tv is our email address. You can leave us a voicemail at 2626-SOCIAL. That's our Google Voice number, 2626-SOCIAL. Remember to try to keep those to 30 seconds or less. We get a lot of voicemails, and sometimes they run long, and for our show format, we just can't run them. But if you can keep it concise, we will absolutely 100% love to run your voicemail. And of course, videos. We want more videos. We want to see you. Please don't be driving when you send us your videos. But otherwise, questions, comments, anything, even a little tutorial, if you can make it nice and quick and concise. We'd love to see those. Just upload them somewhere, your video service of choice, YouTube, Vimeo, etc., and send us the link. All right, Amber, we're almost to the best part of the show. Let's be honest. This is the part that everybody's waiting for. It's Amber's Ratter Fad. But first, let's quickly thank Netflix, our second sponsor of the Social Hour. You know what Netflix is. You know what Netflix does. But you probably know somebody who still isn't using Netflix. Now, if you know somebody like that, you have to give them the code netflix.com/twit. It's not even really a code, just a simple URL, because that gives them 30 days free to use the service. So you've got this friend. Let's call him Leo. Leo doesn't know about Netflix, or for whatever reason, he just isn't convinced that Netflix is a service for him. He's got an Xbox, or maybe he has a PS3 or an iPad or an iPhone. Maybe he's got a Roku box. Maybe he has an Apple TV. These are all ways that he could watch Netflix content. And he probably doesn't realize that one of those ways is the preferred way that he would like to use Netflix. That's the great thing, is that Netflix can be enjoyed in a variety of places, and you can start a movie or a TV show in one place, on one device, pause it, and pick right back up on another device, back in your living room if you've already been watching on your iPad or your Android phone type of a thing. So Netflix is really cool in that way, and I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out, why do I need this again? Well, it's because you get all of this instant streaming content in so many places. So if you know a guy like Leo, you can give him netflix.com/twit URL. He or she can sign up, totally free trial, 30 days, absolutely free. And they've got a lot of stuff, entire TV series, TV shows, movies, new and old, things in between, comedies, Christmas specials, the whole nine. Just by signing up. And of course, at the end of those 30 days, if they love the service, and there's a good chance they will, they can sign up and get the monthly plan that makes the most sense for them. Netflix.com/twit. And thanks, as always, to Netflix for sponsoring the Social Hour. Amber, it's time for your rad or fad.
All right. So since we mentioned we were going to do some holiday links for this episode, I stumbled across this really fun thing on Etsy. And I know both Sarah and I love Etsy. It's a great site to get one-of-a-kind crafts from people who are just super, super creative. Also great for the holidays. Now, this particular link that I found is social media ornaments. And it's kind of fun. The idea being is that you can get a set of these ornaments to hang on your tree. The Twitter bird, the Facebook icon, Foursquare, Flickr, RSS feed. You can even swap these out if you prefer Tumblr, LinkedIn, iMessage, Yelp, or Google Plus. And it's just a fun way, if you know someone who's really into social media, to get in the spirit and give them a set of these. So $20, I believe that's for 5. Probably want to get your order in pretty quickly if you do want them in time for the holidays. But I think this is pretty rad, Sarah. I'm a fan.
I do too. These are great. Etsy is really so cute. Good for stuff like this. There's so much good art and crafts and handmade, really, really professional stuff on Etsy right now. But this just speaks to us, and hopefully to our audience too. I can't think of anything I would like more, as an ornament than if somebody gave me something like this, because it's geeky, it's a geeky gift.
Yeah, it's totally geeky. And I think it's just, if you wanted to do, I never thought of doing a social tree, but that would be kind of fun if you had stuff like this on the tree. Again, just make it unique, something that stands out from the crowd. Especially, let's face it, Sarah, we kind of joke about this stuff, but the reality is, for many of us, this is our social world, right? And we spend a ton of time with our network of friends on these different services. So it's a pretty important part of our lives, I think. I think that's
very true. Very true. That's great. That's good. That's social media ornaments. I'm laughing because it's like I can think of so many people who would love that, probably more than what I have gifted and liked for them.
There's time, Sarah.
This beautiful ornament from Barcelona. Okay. What about a Facebook icon for my tree?
I know.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. It'd be pretty easy to give those away, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Social media ornaments on Etsy. Etsy is so great. It's really worth just going to Etsy.com. If you're a member, of course, you know how it works. But if you're not, and just start searching for stuff, because it's neat what will surface. And you might find an artist who's on the other side of the world who you end up really liking, and you can add them to your favorites. And a lot of them have stuff that they've made that's so affordable, and so is shipping, and you end up with something that you feel good about because you're supporting an indie artist that's really, really talented. And this is the way that they've chose to share their store with you, and especially stuff like social media ornaments. I think this is 100% right.
And you know what? They have Etsy. I was playing with their iPad app. I think it was their iPad app recently. I don't know if you've seen it, Sarah, but it's also a great way to manage all of your Etsy purchases and browse the site too.
Yeah, I've definitely played around with Etsy's apps, but that's a good something that Leo and I should feature before the holidays. Just remind people that that's a really great gift guide. It's not necessarily an Amazon or something that you can search for really via any other way. Some of these people have I guess, have their own stores on their own websites. But that is a really good call because these are truly unique gifts. It's a great way to get somebody something that was made with love and care, and they're not going to find anywhere else.
Exactly. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. Well, Amber, we've just now pretty much come up at the end of our hour, so I can't believe that it's over already. Went by just as fast as it usually does when I'm sitting in the studio.
And Sarah, you have to go out and enjoy a nice dinner in Barcelona, and it sounds like a wonderful evening. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, this place is great. I love Barcelona so far. I'm just now getting my wits about me. It's very different from Paris, which is, well, obviously cities are different than each other. That's what makes cities great. But it's amazing that with a little 12-hour night train overnight, I went not that far, really. You know, you look on a map, you think, oh, they're not that far away from each other, but it's truly a different world. And I thank technology for making it easy for me to do the show from wherever so that we didn't have to miss an episode, and I just get a kick out of it. I know that we have people on our show from all over the world all of the time. I mean, yourself included, but it's usually not me. So this is kind of fun to be the person that's
very
far
cool.
away. Yeah, absolutely.
It's good when it works.
Well, thank technology. We did have to restart a couple times, so I guess I can't say it was an effortless journey, but still worked pretty well. And if you're watching the edited version of this, then you're probably like, what? It was seamless because Jeff, our editor, has edited out all the bad stuff. So that's one good thing about being a live viewer or listener is that you get to hear all the mess ups. Hopefully it makes us seem more human.
Exactly. Well, Sarah, enjoy the rest of your trip, and I will chat with you soon.
All right, Amber. Thanks, everybody who joined us on this episode of The Social Hour. Remember, we are live Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Amber, you are going to be out next Monday. Isn't that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to be traveling.
I will have to figure out a guest host. I have a couple ideas up my sleeve, and as soon as I know who the person or persons will be, I will let all of you know. In the meantime, remember, you can join us at twit.tv/TSH. That's where all of our show archives live, show notes, links that we mentioned, all that good stuff can be found there. Of course, you can find us on iTunes as well. And until next week, I'm Sarah Lane in Barcelona.
And I'm Amber MacArthur in Toronto. Thanks for watching or listening and tuning in.
All right. See you guys.